today's digital world, communication service providers are foundational to how we live, work, and play. At Oracle Communications, our solutions help you create new digital experiences that leverage the full potential of 5G to co-create industry solutions, launch new services quickly, and provide an omni-channel customer experience. Charge for any service type and orchestrate 5G services and network slices. Let us help you reimagine communications for 5G.
Please welcome to the stage Senior Vice President and General Manager, Oracle Communications Application, Jason Rutherford.
Show me how you want it. Show me how you want it. Make it wanna take it down. I got everything.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the warm welcome. It's great to be with everyone. The crowd might be a little thin. I guess it's after lunch and the room is hard to find, or maybe I'm just not that interesting. I don't know, but we'll figure it out. I just want to thank everyone for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us. I think after a 3-year hiatus, it's wonderful to be together. It's great to see some familiar faces in the audience, some longtime customers. And I just want to thank you on behalf of Oracle for attending. It means a lot to us that you take time out of your busy schedule to spend a couple days with us. I think, the slide says digitalization is rapidly transforming industries and societies and daily life. I think that's kind of no duh, right? I think we're in the middle of a transformation. We've been in the middle of a transformation. And back in 2011, Mark Andreessen had a famous quote that said, software is eating the world. Okay, and I think we can see the impact of that softwareization in pretty much everything we do, and especially in the communications industry, as we see what's happening to both network and devices becoming more software-centric. I think the combined power and proliferation of the software and hyperconnectivity is driving digitalization at a rate we've never seen before, and it's having a huge impact on our lives and on society, right? And I think all of us were quarantined, locked down at some point, and if you think connectivity and digitalization didn't have a major impact on your life, I would ask you how you thought you were going to survive without Zoom and applications like that. It made us, enabled us to still communicate with loved ones who we couldn't be with. It enabled most of us to keep our jobs and stay productive. I think you also see high-speed connectivity and digitalization changing the world, and maybe some in some not so great ways. And is evidenced by what's going on with Starlink and its ability to impact the Ukraine-Russia conflict, or I'll call it war, and what's going on there. And so they're really relying on that connectivity to kind of literally fight for their lives. So really changing society. But if you're a student of history and you know anything about it, these innovations don't slow and they don't stop. They keep going and they act like a springboard and kind of a multiple effect on top of one another. So it turns out that we're really gathering a critical mass of these key innovations and disruptions that are going to spawn a new era. So just bear with me. I'm going to go back about 300 years and give you all a high school history lesson. And I actually had to ask my son when I saw these slides about, hey, could you tell me what was the first era of industrial revolution in 1700s? What was that? And it was water and steam. Okay, water and steam changes the way we manufacture things. We're grinding out wheat. We're changing the way that we produce things. Electricity comes along. It gets better and better. It's really changing the way we manufacture. And then we kind of get into the era that I think all of us in this room have lived through, which is the ICT and the internet, right? And that kind of started changing ways. And really changed the way that we do business. We saw e-commerce get disrupted, right? Amazon started eating the lunch of brick and mortar establishments, and it brought us through that. But today I think we're really getting ready to enter into, or maybe we're starting to creep into, the era of hyper-automation. And what does that mean, right? That's talking about really cyber physical. So if you heard Safra talk yesterday, she said, hey, all computers do is what people tell them to do. I think we're getting ready to kind of on the verge of changing that. You have man and machine interaction, and then we're getting into clean tech as well. And I think clean tech is really being driven by the increased awareness that we have on kind of the impact that we are having on the planet and on the earth. And much more aware of that than certainly people were when they were figuring out how to grind out grain with a grist mill thanks to water, right? I mean, they were just trying to survive and eat at that point. And so if you look at where we are today, we're currently in this Industry 4.0 realm. It's kind of in the early stages. We're getting advancements in robotic technology, connectivity, AI enabling all this hyper automation. We're starting to hear about digital twinning and what's going on with that. And we're starting to see certain industries really take advantage of this stuff, right? And I'll talk about fleet tracking in the United States. It's a very early adopter of this type of stuff, right? It was very easy to say, okay, how long is this driver driving? Where is the trailer? What is he hauling? Is he or she speeding, braking too heavy? And they've come a long way with this, and they've adopted it to a really severe extent, made a lot by government regulation that said you have to do this. You have other industries that are very slow to uptake this type of stuff. We just acquired a small company called Cerner not too long ago. And if you go and talk to them, they're still dealing with cables, plugging it into patients, trying to get data off them and things like that. And when we look at it, we say, wow, we can really modernize this. We can get rid of these cables. We can make it more based on the internet, connectivity, build applications that take that data in, change the way that we deliver healthcare. In fact, you can do a lot of the things in a home healthcare environment if you had really high-speed connectivity instead of having to sit around in a hospital. And for those of you who have ever been in a hospital, not a place you want to sit for a long period of time. So we're really progressing on these digital twins. We're starting to see industry clouds come into adoption. I think these are all unique opportunities for our communications customers as we bring them forward. Another huge opportunity that's coming ahead. Now, I got to channel my best Mark Zuckerberg here. I changed my hoodie for my suit today, but I got to talk about the metaverse, right? And metaverse, massive, massive opportunity. I spoke to Scott Petty, who was the CIO of Vodafone yesterday, and he tells us the next decade is really a do or die decade for communications service providers. Kind of sobering, right? So you're sitting here saying, okay, how do we come up with new business ideas? How do we come up with new products and services to monetize and stay relevant? Well, if we look at the metaverse, and these are not Jason's numbers, these are McKinsey's numbers. McKinsey's basically saying by 2030, it's a 5 trillion, that's with a T, trillion economic impact on the world. If you look at just last year in 2021, early cycle investing, right? So if you look at the hype curve, you always look where private equity and venture capital money is going. You had a whopping 13 billion go into the metaverse last year. And this year, if you look at total investment spend across the spectrum in metaverse, it's a $120 billion investment. And if you're only at the beginning of the hype curve, you can say, well, I think this is probably more than just some fancy term for AI or enhanced AR, VR type of thing. This thing is picking up speed, it's picking up momentum. But what does it need? I mean, telcos are going to be at the heart of this. You're going to have connectivity, 5G, 6G type of connectivity, be pivotal in doing this. But you're also going to have to be able to supplement that connectivity. You're going to be able to have to supplement with vertical applications, with a telco cloud that can support all of these things. So if I'm a communications service provider, I'm kind of sitting here thinking that I'm faced with really 3 real options of what I can do, right? I can continue kind of just doing connectivity like I do it today. Been doing it since the beginning of time. And what do I have to do that? Well, I got to put some systems in place because if I'm delivering connectivity with the same type of pricing and same type of economics that I'm doing it today, I'm not going to survive very long, right? There's a study out there that shows you that average revenue per user is declining across the world everywhere except for in 2 countries. So if you say I want to just keep doing connectivity, you better be doing something to deliver connectivity much more cheaply, right? Automate everything you can automate. kind of push the power to the people, digitalize everything, get your operational expenses under control, and drive that down so that you're very, very lean and operating. Might not be a bad model for some people, right? The other option is to become what I'll call a digital service provider. And you'll hear a lot of this in industry now, people saying, I'm going to try to go from telco to techco. Well, what does that mean? I gotta basically figure out how to move all of my products over. I want to still be able to offer connectivity, but I got to figure out how to do this network as a service thing, right? I got to monetize my 5G. I got to give it into industries that can use it in the way they want to use it, because we all pretty much know that 5G is not going to be about a kind of a B2C play. It's going to be much more of an enterprise play. So, okay, you might stay there and play in the middle and do okay. But if you want to take advantage of the metaverse, if you want to take advantage of Industry 5.0, those two kind of schemes probably aren't the ones that are for you. You're really going to have to become what we call an industry service provider, right? And so what does that mean? All right, so I still have to have this connectivity that's been around for a long time. I still need to do the slicing and be able to roll that out. But now I got to get into things like a telco cloud. I got to be able to put industry-specific applications inside of that telco cloud. And I have to be able to speak to my customer in their language, right? So I can't go and sell a healthcare service branded by FutureCom service provider and not understand what's going on in the healthcare industry. Same thing with financial services. So we believe that there's plenty of opportunity out there for service providers to make money. There's got disruptions going on. Change is always good. You've got the metaverse, and you've got Industry 4.0 leading to Industry 5.0. But if you want to be this industry service provider, you kind of have to be able to modernize what you have. And so, this wouldn't be a CloudWorld if I didn't talk a little bit about the advantage of working with Oracle. So by leveraging technology in new ways, these CSPs, DSPs, and industry service providers can really work through these different business models and monetize them, right? And in the conversations that we're having with our customers, they're all saying, hey, there's some table stakes that when we buy these applications, they have to be able to do certain things, right? So first of all, have to be cloud native, have to have a microservice-based architecture, have to have support for CI/CD pipelines, the ability to deploy in multi-cloud environments, and support cloud-native tooling, auto-scaling, and observability. And I'm happy to report that Oracle's taking all of these things very, very seriously, and we're moving our complete product stack across the board to embrace these architectural principles. Another kind of table stake to doing this is you have to organize these applications into a cloud, right? And so you've re-architected, you've refactored applications as cloud-native microservices. They should be deployable in a telco cloud, and that's going to provide immediate benefits such as agility, flexibility, and efficiencies, right? And so CSPs need to partner with somebody that can tick all of those boxes. And if you ever hear me talk before, you always hear me say that Oracle has the unique breadth and depth to offer that type of an offering, and it's true. And in fact, we're going to hear from Vodafone in just a few minutes, who's one of our key customers that is progressing and doing this. They're already making the move from telco to techco, right? And so we'll hear from them shortly after our remarks. But then you said, Jason, hey, you talked about this industry service provider. What do I have to do to get there? So, okay, you got to pick, a provider that can do everything that I just talked about. So I explained that Oracle is the only provider out there that has a telco cloud. We're the only provider out there that has a full stack of communications, networking, and applications, everything from a 5G core through monetization, orchestration, and digital experience. Got all that put together, okay? Indisputable, we have it, I can show it all to you. The other thing that we have, and makes us the most unique partner to do this, we have 10 other industry business units that can bring industry-specific applications to sit on top of OCI and help carriers monetize this, right? So this combination of industry applications and the telco cloud stack provides the basis for what we've talked about, CSPs making this migration from becoming just connectivity service providers all the way through to becoming industry service providers. And so whether your company is at the beginning of this journey, in the middle of the journey, or nearing the end of the journey, Oracle is a unique partner that you should be engaging with to have these conversations. So let me just summarize what I've been talking about for about the last 15 minutes, right? Can we make money in this place? Yes. There's disruption. There is immense economic opportunity through Metaverse and 4 and 5, Industry 5.0. What do you need to do it? A telco-based cloud-native network application stack, and to become an industry service provider, partnering with Oracle to get all those other industry applications to round it out. So now I'm really pleased to welcome two of my old friends to join me on stage. Andrea and Pedro, you want to come on up? So guys, thanks for joining this afternoon. Before we get started, maybe I'd like to have you each introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you. And Andrea, unfortunately, the customer is going to go first.
All the time, so
Okay.
please, Pedro.
Okay, good, thank you. So I work at Vodafone. At Vodafone, I have basically two responsibilities. I manage all our IT operations that include all of our data centers. And I also responsible for what we call our technology centers. One thing that we have been doing, and again, I'll talk a bit more about that, is we have been insourcing and providing a lot of systems integration internally. And we've built, let's say, our own systems integrator, which at this point in time is not that small, but it's over 13,000 people. Before that, again, I've been in Vodafone for 7 years, and I was the CIO of the UK. But I've been in telco for the last 15 years. It's an industry that I really love. It's great to be here, okay, in San Francisco. Sorry, not in San Francisco, in Las Vegas. San Francisco, we move it, I know. The only thing that has been not so nice is that I still wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because, again, I'm still getting used to the jet lag. But
I can help you with your BSS. I can't help you with your...
yeah, I can imagine that.
I'm sorry.
Good.
And Andrea, your turn.
Andrea Cesarini from Accenture. I'm responsible for the business Accenture is doing with Oracle in Europe, but there are two very valid reasons why I'm here. First of all, because comms is really the industry that is a special place in my heart. I spent more than 22 years. And the second thing is very personal with Jason. So 3 years ago, in the last Oracle Open World, that was the last physical meeting we had together, we were sharing the stage. And it was exactly 2 days after this gentleman was appointed as a general manager, but was also a kind of full circle because we knew each other since when we were kids in the Andersen Consulting. So it's really a pleasure to be here with you and to discuss about Vodafone. Vodafone is also a client where I spent a lot of time. We never come across, unfortunately, because I spent 6 years in Vodafone as a technology consulting lead, but before Pedro comes. So it's good also to have this triangulation of intent, interest, and life.
Great. So Pedro, I name-dropped Vodafone a lot during my presentation, and we talked yesterday. So maybe you could share with our audience and give them a sense for how is Vodafone really evolving to take advantage of some of the more emerging opportunities that I discussed in the presentation.
Okay, just before going there, I think that some of the points that you made, I think that they are really important. I think that the telco industry is really at the point that we need to decide what we are going to do going forward, because the demand for our services is really increasing. And I think that the pandemic teaches that the increase in telecommunications increased, and people are, the doubling of the usage of our services, it just keeps increasing the frequency by which we double the usage. A lot of the applications, and some of them, the things that we're saying, metaverse again, which is something that is going to come, but again, all of us, we use cloud services that nowadays require much more communications, but nobody's, on the consumer side, nobody's willing to pay more, okay? Which creates a bit of as a problem. And so that's why at Vodafone, we've started, let's say, our own digital transformation that is really linked into three things. The first one is really about cost efficiency, okay? And some of you heard our CIO, Scott, talking about that. I'm going to give some different examples to give a bit more perspective. Besides the ones that he used this morning, one example is, again, we have 25 different local markets. And one way is, if instead of developing the same thing 25 different times, develop it once and reuse it across the others. We have a motto that where we want to do things faster, cheaper, and better. That's one way. The second way links to your second model, which is really about customer experience. We want really to provide the best possible customer experience. Digital channels are becoming our biggest channel. Again, I'm sure that none of you like to call or go to a retail store. You prefer to do it all from the comfort of your home, again, on the web, on your browser, and just be able to select the service, the next iPhone that you want. And last, the most interesting, and that probably relates more with this one, is really how do we build products and services that really are adjacent to our core business, the telecommunications, but can provide much more growth. We do not expect a lot of growth and revenue growth coming from our traditional services. Again, the fight there is about maintaining our market share, but we expect growth coming from these new products and services. We have some good examples. Our IoT platform, recognized by Gartner as a leading one with 150 million customers, financial services in Africa, where we have the platforms like M-Pesa, a digital asset broker, again, a new platform that we are now launching, where, again, we allow, for instance, the first use case that we are putting on the platform is allowing electric cars to basically deal by themselves in terms of when they are charging, how the payment of that happens. So that is really how we are tackling some of these transformations. But again, we are probably going a bit across all of the three models that you put there.
Yep. Okay, great. So Andrea, Accenture has customers around the world. We see each other in a lot of foreign countries pretty frequently. Maybe you could kind of share with us what you're seeing at your customers as kind of the underlying drivers that's really shaping this latest wave of disruption that we're seeing.
I would provide a broader perspective, but basically in Accenture we believe there are 5 forces that are shaping the industry in the decade ahead, and I think the 5 are, the first is the total enterprise reinvention, and is all about the digital transformation. I think this has been a buzzword for many years, but if you really look at the number, the reality is that digital transformation is still at its infancy. Recently, we ran a survey, and the survey was with thousands of people of a company worldwide, and the reality is that all the executives said that if they look at the maturity that they hit for the use of cloud, the number is just 14%. If you move the attention to the artificial intelligence, the number actually becomes 12%. So this is giving you the idea on how much leverage there is still there to unlock value. The second force is about the talent. So talent competition is not over at all. And it's not only about the technology skill. I think it's a changing mindset for the enterprise. So every enterprise needs to access the talent, but should become not only a talent consumer, need to become a talent creator. So it's important that the enterprise becoming a learning enterprise. And I think in Vodafone there is this culture to educate the people. In Accenture, for instance, we introduced the concept of technology quotient to keep up. And there are 12 different subjects where everyone, from the executive assistants till our CEO, that need to learn them and get educated. The third one is about metaverse. I know that I was pushing to get metaverse into discussion to Jason. So Jason changed the slide just before this meeting because otherwise I would complain. But the point is that metaverse will bring a new wave of digital transformation. I have a personal definition that is not compliant with my company, but I will give you anyhow. Is basically for me is a bridge. Is a bridge between the physical world and the network of digital world. And we use the word continuum in Accenture because we really believe that is a continuum of technology, capability, use cases, experience that will provide the digital. And telco will have a specific role in my personal view. Then there is the sustainability. I think this is another important point also for the CSP. In the same research I was mentioning beforehand, we just realized that only 7% of the telco link sustainability on their technology strategy. And today, it's very clear that is the technology delivered to get meeting these goals. On the other end, actually, as a friend of mine would say, however, the power emission is increasing dramatically just because of the use of the technology, but there is no alternative. Just to give you, the British Royal Institute was saying that the power emission in the last decade was in the range of 5.9% of the entire power emission. The idea is that in the next decade, it will become 5 times more. And the last point is the ongoing technology revolution. I think you touched already the point, and actually in your presentation. The technology march is not slowing down. There is no way. Actually, this will challenge the business to rethink the way they connect with customer, with partner, with the ecosystem. I'm also proud to share here one thing, just to show how the technology can solve a concrete problem, especially in the telco. Every year in Accenture, we run a contest. This year, I'm particularly proud because our team, the team that is in India, the Accenture Technology, won this contest. And the contest was about, let's try to figure out innovation. Innovation is about using quantum computing to fix the collision of the network ID in 5G ultra-dense territory, which is a problem. Just as an example on how technology can change the things.
Great. So Pedro, we talked about digital disruptions and what's going on. Can you talk to us a little bit about some of the key initiatives that you have going on at Vodafone in the context of these?
Okay. Yes. So we've talked a lot that we want to transform ourselves from being a telco company to become more a tech company. But what does this mean? Okay. The first thing is we want to be a platform company. Okay, because in order to capture all of that opportunities that you put even in your slides about the industry solutions, right, we need to become a platform company. We need to be able to build platforms that can provide those products and services at scale, globally, to do this. And what does this mean? One thing that we need to do is we need to open up all of our, let's say, networks. We need to open up our BSS and OSS to allow developers to be able to connect into our systems and to be able to provide and to develop those services on top of, let's say, the telco infrastructure. And for that, again, one of the things that we are building is a platform that we call technology as a service that is exactly to do basically 2 things. The first one is to support and build those APIs, allow developers to use those APIs that we provide and build the solutions. And second, to provide them with a working environment where they can build their own applications. But we also want to do that not only with potentially external developers, but our own internal developers. Because some of these solutions that some of them Oracle might, for instance, provide them. Others probably don't exist yet, and we don't know yet what's going to be. So one thing that we are also aiming to be is, again, a software engineering company. We want to have the capability to build these things internally if we need to. And again, we have announced public that we want to recruit 7,000 software engineers. Just for a reference, across Vodafone, we have 30,000 technology employees. So 7,000 is a really relevant number in terms of the growth. And we all know how difficult it is nowadays to recruit and, more important, to retain people. Okay, so that is the second thing. And then combined with this, there is a cultural change that we need to do. Because typically, telcos are used probably to buy services from companies as great as Accenture.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, but as we start to do things more internally, it's a completely different business to manage a system integrator than to manage a pool of software engineers. And the way that we do that, it's a big cultural change for us. The second one is we are also becoming, again, from being 25 different Vodafones to being just one Vodafone. That is, and putting all of us working together into one team is also a big cultural change. And some other things, it's how do we change the way that we build applications? Because although on all the new applications that we are building, again, we are building them cloud native with Agile and DevOps, we have a lot of things, a lot of the platforms that we rely on that well, they are very important. They still pay my salary because building CRM, again, it's important thing. So they are very important platforms, but we also need to modernize them. So again, that is also another important change that encompasses the thing that we call the journey from telco to telco.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, and I think, you talked a little bit about APIs. Oracle's definitely taking that very seriously. The open digital architecture and the one APIs and how we're working through that. I think is going to help you benefit that. Andrea, if you kind of hear what Pedro is talking about, how do you think the role of CSP is going to evolve over maybe the next 10 years? And, I talked about why I believe CSPs are well positioned to kind of not only survive but thrive, but kind of, why do you think they're well positioned?
There were two possibilities. First, I can challenge you about what we presented 3 years ago, but I'm sure that I would put you in a bad spot. Or
I don't remember.
I will go my way. So my way is, I would say that I'm a romantic, so I want to basically rewind from 3 years. So if you remind, 3 years ago we were building together the vision, and the vision was we were envisioning the telco to become more pivotal in redefining the boundary of the industry. And actually, using your term at the time, becoming a digital marketplace. Now, always playing a bit with Netflix. Now, let's fast forwarding in 3 years' time. So I think that nowadays the vision is realized. And actually, I would say that today there are new opportunities. And the new opportunity, for instance, is, we call it at the time industry orchestrator. I noticed that now becoming industry as a service provider, but it's exactly the same. In the last 3 years, if we have learned something, we have learned that the telco is really the backbone of the market. Is the backbone of the infrastructure, is the backbone of the communication and the information. And I remember there was a diagram showing how the market was moving. The telco was the one that recovered soon. And also, if at the time we were talking, let's get away from connectivity, we just learned that the connectivity has been extremely keen during the pandemic. So,
although not much money coming from it.
Also, if the ARPU is declining, I agree with you, especially beside the two countries. No, but I think that let's double click a bit on the metaverse. There is a quote that really describes my thinking for the future. It's coming from Elon Musk. And Elon Musk just recently was saying, let's stop playing chess with the usual pieces like anyone is doing. Let's create new pieces. And to me, the metaverse is exactly that. Metaverse is a new wave of the web 3.0 as it called, or Web 3 as it called. To me, the telco, and I just reusing, I compose what you were saying and what you are saying. At the end of the day, the telco is really the backbone of all the industry. And the reality is that you need to take the lead. And just take the lead on capability that always used to manage in the past. I give you a couple of examples. The first is the ecosystem maturity. The telco trying to fix the B2B since 10 years, is already used in the concept of the multi-cloud, is used to define the API, and actually the three of us are all very much involved with the telemanagement forum in defining the API. Another element is about ID and security, because when we talk about metaverse, we need to make sure that there is the trust and there is the security. And I really believe that telco that managed roaming for ages can really manage the identity of the people and the avatar within the metaverse. Let's not forget the area where I grew up with, which is BSS and OSS for the customer experience, for the monetization. So I think those are service provisioning, are all capabilities that can be shared across all the industry. And the last slide is also the responsible business, because the telco can be there. I really believe that metaverse, with this perspective, represents a large opportunity. Today, I'm the man of the number, also if I'm not this kind of person, but every year we produce what we call Accenture Technology Vision, and also we flavored this research by industry. I think that the CSP are acknowledge what is in front of them. 79% of the C-level of the comms, I think, acknowledge that metaverse is a large opportunity for them.
Yeah, I agree. Great. So Pedro, I'm going to back up to something you said earlier. So, and I thought it was pretty interesting. You said that today Vodafone kind of plays across the three service providers that I talked about, right? And you've talked about your journey from telco to techco. If you kind of see yourself moving to become an industry service provider, where do you see the gaps that exist today, and what needs to be done to become kind of more relevant in that space?
Okay. Look, the gaps, there are some gaps today, okay? But I think that the most important thing is, I don't really know which are going to be the gaps going forward. I think that what we need to do, that's why, for instance, in terms when we are talking about the telco, to prepare ourselves, if there is a gap, the gap is not, there is no platform out there to cover that gap, then we build it, okay? So being ready to do those types of things, I think that it's probably one of the adaptability in order to cover gaps whenever they appear is probably the key thing. There are things that we know that are already coming. There are opportunities that are coming. There is the cloudification of computing, okay? There is a lot of things, streaming, 4K, metaverse, okay? There is a lot of those things that are already happening. There is a lot of devices and services that, like for instance, IoT, all cars nowadays are connected. Fortunately, 60% of connected cars, they are connected through our platform, which is great. But again, it's another opportunity. And then there are new things that are coming like 5G, that it's enabling things like mobile private networks that industries can leverage, like a factory. You can build a mobile private network around a factory so that only the network, that 5G network is only valid on that factory. Low latency applications. Okay, and that combined with edge computing, that is how do we build, which applications are going to build on that? Because again, I see a lot of people talk about low latency applications, edge computing, but again, which industry solutions are out there to solve this problem? There are a lot of things that can be done across industries. Agriculture, again, there is lots of things that we are doing also on some of those industries. But I think that the key thing is the adaptability for the future is going to be key.
Okay, all right. So Andrea, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about some other clients of yours. So can you kind of share some examples of how Accenture is helping drive some of these other transformations? I mean, you have your fingers in a lot of them.
No, yes, for sure. I think there are some cases that to me are very interesting, especially at the light of what I heard in those 2 days, especially from the presentation of Safra, Larry, and also Clay this morning. So I think one element that I would like is about the multi-cloud. So the client I'm referring to is Team Brazil. I think that is an example where the client really understood that every workload requires a specific cloud. And basically, this is a client where the workload has been split between Microsoft and Oracle, and this is a very valid example. The second example is Wind3, which is the largest mobile operator in Italy. I think Piero Bade wrote actually recently a blog also in the Oracle website, and I had the pleasure to host him in the Accenture Oracle Leadership Council, made an important statement. I think that for him, the approach was not revolutionary, but wanted an approach that was evolutionary. So we worked together, the three of us, Accenture, Oracle, and Wind3, in defining a roadmap. This roadmap has a mantra, and the mantra was, let's make sure that we are able to tune the intensity of the digital transformation with the business continuity. So, and the approach was, let's put Siebel on OCI. Let's bring Siebel to the latest version, the P23, and this is a big success. The performance of Siebel improved from 40 and 80% just with the upgrade and the OCI migration, and now we are moving to extended Siebel with the 6 capability, targeting the X4C, which is a bit our kid, Jason, since we have involved. So to me, those are examples that show exactly the point. So telco has a great things, so revolution is not always the answer. Perhaps evolution is the bad things, and the multi-cloud is, I would call it, the operating system of the telco business today.
Okay, all right, thank you. So gentlemen, unfortunately, we are drawing low on time here. I'll just ask for any closing comments. So Pedro, anything from you?
Look, I think that we keep talking a lot about transformation, and typically we associate transformation when we need to do big changes. But I think that probably we need to start more talking about modernization. I think that transformation typically is associated with sometimes some disasters. Yep. Okay.
The Big Bang.
Yeah, the Big Bang thing. I think that one thing that we need to start doing is more modernized, more continuous modernization, more continuous development of things, because again, some of these industry services, again, they are going to require that we have adapted our core infrastructure and our core applications to enable those industry solutions. And we cannot be waiting for a transformation that sometimes some of the projects that Andrea was talking take years. So keeping a pace and keeping always modernizing, I think that is going to be key versus we like on the telco industry to talk about transformation.
Yeah, I think that's actually a great point. Is sometimes you don't have to go from A to Z. You can kind of,
you should be going.
Stop and smell the roses along the way, right?
Exactly.
All right. Andrea, how about you?
No, I think building on the same point that I'm fully in agreement. So to me, nowadays, we need to privilege the speed. We like to talk about compressed transformation, and compressed transformation is exactly like that. Let's take an evolutionary approach, modernize along the way, and making sure that you get the value along the things. You cannot anymore wait for 3-4 years to get this. I loved what Safra was saying in his keynote. So seems that if you go fast, you are risky, but if you go slow, you are danger. So let's go with the right speed and privilege the speed more than the biggest value that perhaps I never realized, because the world is going faster and faster.
Perfect. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me today.
No problem.
I really appreciate it.
Baby, can you see through the tears?
Okay, thank all of you for joining us. I do want to remind you that we have a few more sessions on the docket tomorrow, both from our applications group as well as our network group. And I would encourage you to stop by the demo pods that are located in the CloudWorld hub. We have some great demos kind of showing some of the technology that I bragged about today. So again, thank you for spending the afternoon with us. I wish all of you safe travels home, and I hope to see you all again very soon. Thanks very much.
One.